Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Grady Fellow and Holliman Award winner, Claude Felton.
Thank you. In the spring of 1975, the Georgia baseball team won a Southeastern Conference Eastern Division championship. And at the end of that season, there was a freshman first baseman who made a life-changing decision. He decided to give up on a arguably questionable baseball future in exchange for a much more promising career in television. And that career began at WMAZ in Macon and included following stops at WSB in Atlanta, Spartanburg, and he finally landed at Turner Sports, where he has anchored many of the world's greatest sporting events, including Olympic Games, World Cup Soccer, Major League Baseball, Wimbledon, the NFL, and of course, long-standing studio host at TNT's Inside the NBA. He's also won 3 Emmys, most recently in 2015, and as many of you will remember, last year in an emotional acceptance at the Emmys, he deferred to fellow nominee Stuart Scott of ESPN, who had died just months before from cancer. And Ernie said at that time, the only place that this award belongs is on the mantle at Stuart Scott's house. And he called Stuart Scott's daughters to the stage and presented the award to them in what was one of the most inspirational moments in Emmy history. So please join me in congratulating the John Holliman Jr. Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Ernie Johnson Jr.
Dean Davis, thank you. President Moorhead, thanks for being here. Claude touched on it. I'll expand on it just a touch. I walked on as a freshman on the University of Georgia baseball team in 1975. I was told to walk off as a sophomore. This was not my choice. When you go 2 for 15 with 1 career RBI, these things happen. In retrospect, I have Roy Umstadt to thank tonight. He was the head baseball coach who cut me. Had that not happened, I would not have wandered into the Grady School. Called it the Grady School back then, the Grady College of Journalism. I would not have met Marcus Bartlett. I would not have met Bill Martin, whose enthusiasm for journalism was so infectious that you could not walk out of a classroom without wanting to be one. I wouldn't have met Al Rothstein, who was a student here and was the sports director at WUOG Radio, who gave me my first opportunity to sit behind a mic and sound horrible. I wouldn't have met Jerry Gerson, who hired me at WAGQ Radio Q105 here in Athens and gave me my first paying job while I was still in school as the news and sports director. I already knew Lauren Smith, but Lauren was one of those guys who said, we need to get your tape out and get you out of radio and into TV. And then they were crazy enough in Macon, Georgia to hire me as the news anchor of Channel 13 News at 6, which is about the age I appeared at that time as well. Year and a half there, Spartanburg for a year. Then Dick Mallory hired me at WSB TV in Atlanta. I was a news reporter. Occasionally I would do Monica's hair. And then Rabin Matthews came on as the news director, replacing Dick Mallory, and moved me from the news department to the sports department and changed my career. So I went from life and death into the toy department, and I've been there ever since. And it was Don McGuire who gave me a chance at TBS and TNT back in 1989, and I've been there ever since. It is so good for my soul to look out and see a table full of Turner folks tonight. They're my Turner family. This week I called Diane Holliman. Dean Davis was kind enough to find the phone number for John Holliman's widow. And I just wanted to tell her, see, I don't know if she knows me from Jar of Vicks, but I wanted her to know that I was receiving an honor this week that bears the name of her late husband and how much it meant to me. And we talked, and I asked her about John's approach to work, and she hesitated and said, you know what really stands out about John's approach to work was that he treated everybody at CNN exactly the same. Whether that was dealing with Tom Johnson, who was the president, or whether that was dealing with somebody who was just getting into the business and was at the lowest rung of the ladder, he treated them all the same. And that was a lesson to me, because I watched my father do that same thing as a longtime voice of the Braves. And I needed to hear it again, because I need that reminder from time to time in my day-to-day job, that while I try to do that, sometimes I don't. And John's story is a tragic one. We lost him way too early. And it's just a reminder also that we're here for a blink, folks. And make the most of that time. Make an imprint, make an impact, so that, like Diane Holliman says, all I remember the most about his work was he treated everybody well. Because we don't know if we got 5 minutes or we got 60 more years. In closing, let me get to the toughest part of this. And I learned this back in 1986 when I got the Young Alumnus Award, and I looked out at the table and saw my wife and my dad and my mom. See, it's really easy to tell those you love that you love them when you're just locking eyes face to face and there's nobody around. It's tougher when you got a room full of folks. This shouldn't mean this much to me, but it does. I've got 6 kids, 4 adopted. Ashley and Allison, and Carmen and Michael. Carmen is watching Michael tonight. Maggie, who has a little baby, our first granddaughter, Katie, and my son, Eric. He's representing the family, the kids here tonight. Our dad couldn't be prouder. Dang it. Dad couldn't be prouder of his son than I am of you. My wife, 33 years worth with Cheryl. She knows how difficult the schedule can be, what the demands of the schedule are, how unpredictable it can be. And she's been the rudder on that ship of ours for 33 years. And just a tip for all you guys out here, next time you're in a gathering like this, when you're with your wife and somebody says, how long have you been married? You just say, not long enough. Can't even look at my mom. She and my dad put me through school. Some of the greatest encouragement I've ever gotten from the greatest mom in the world. And I will tell you this about her, because they have encouraged me. She still stays up at night watching Inside the NBA. She can tell me more about what Charles said the next morning than I remember. Which either means she really still loves me a lot or she's got a sleep disorder. We're investigating that. But once upon a time when I was anchoring the news in Macon, my mom and dad were driving back from vacation in Florida and just hit middle Georgia right around 6 o'clock. just in time to try to catch the news, the Channel 13 news, which I was anchoring in my first TV job. And I think they were in Warner Robins or Vienna or Unadilla or somewhere down there. And doggone if they don't slam the car door and go running into the lobby of a hotel and say, "We need a room for 30 minutes. No, we just want to watch the news. Yeah, I think we got a room over here. Yeah. And lastly, the only thing holding this night back from being complete is obviously not having my dad here. Because we lost him almost 5 years ago. But I know he's looking down. He's probably got Skip Carey here, and he's got Pete Van Weeren here, and he's doing in only the way that he can do it, kind of mocking bravado, saying, elbowing this. See that down there? That's Ernie. Ernie's getting a major award tonight. You know what? And he, I taught him everything he knows. And he did. Thanks.